Hi everybody. Today I'm going to be doing a different type of video. I got a lot of comments on my last video that I uploaded at the beginning of the month asking for this, and I'm so excited to share because I've been having so much fun with reading again the last couple of months. My friend asked me to join her book club a couple of months ago, and it really just had me fall in love with reading all over again. I was a huge reader when I was in like middle school, high school, but then I stopped for years and years and years, and I don't know why. But she had me read one of the books that we were reading for her book club, and I just fell back in love with it, and I read a lot of books this month. So I'm gonna share what I read in October and then maybe a little bit of what I want to read in November as well. And I'm just gonna jump right in because there's a lot. Actually, my first book that I read this month was actually an audiobook, and I listened to it for book club. In the book club that I joined, everybody gets a turn picking for the month. It's really fun because everybody has completely different tastes than anyone else, and so I get introduced to books that I normally wouldn't pick for myself. And like I said, I listened to this one on an audiobook, and it was Tina Fey's Bossy Pants. This is a really old audiobook. I think it came out in like 2011. I enjoyed it. I liked it because as the audiobook, she actually narrated it, and so you got to hear it from her perspective. The thing was, for me, I've never been like a huge Tina Fey fan, but it did make me really want to read Amy Poehler's autobiography. I think it's called Yes Please. So it really opened up that door to me to want to kind of listen to more of those. Biographies are definitely something that I wouldn't normally pick for myself, so I enjoyed it, but it wasn't my favorite thing, so I gave it 3 stars for the month. Okay, next was a duology that I read. I actually started one of these in September, but I finished it in October, and I think that that counts for October. And that is the Six of Crows and the Crooked Kingdom duology. So it's 2 books. This one was like so hyped up online that I thought it was gonna be really good, and I really wanted to like it, but I don't know, it didn't hit for me. It wasn't bad in any way. I actually enjoyed Crooked Kingdom a little bit more than this one. It focuses more on like found family and people that don't really have anybody, and they find each other and they, like I said, create a found family. I feel like that's one of the main themes of this duology. I just didn't love it that much, and I can't put my finger on why. I wasn't very excited to jump back in and pick these up. I bought them when I got them because 1, they were buy one get one 50% off, and 2, because the library waitlist was so long for them. But I don't know if I would buy them again. They weren't my favorite. I gave them both, I think, 3 stars on Goodreads as well. They're not bad, they're just not my taste. And I know some people really, really loved these, so I don't know, I gave it 3 stars. They were okay, they weren't terrible. I was able to get through both of them, but Okay, next one. I loved this book. This one just came out this month. It is called Starling House. It's about kind of like a haunted house, which was perfect for reading in October. I'm just now realizing that a lot of these books are focused on family this month, which I don't think I did that on purpose, but that was just kind of the theme of this month. This one is also another like family focused, at least in my opinion. That's what I picked up from it a lot. It's like a big sister, her relationship with feeling like she's responsible for her younger brother. It's set in rural Kentucky, and it's about her getting a job at the Starling House and kind of what happens when she starts working there. Some weird things start happening. Like I said, kind of a haunted house vibe, but I really like this. I think it's only about 300 pages, but it was so good. I gave this 5 stars. I was actually able to go meet the author when she was on her book tour for this, and I was able to get her to sign it. It was my first time doing that, and it was so much fun, and I just really liked this. I enjoyed it a lot. I highly recommend this one, especially for October. Next book was one that we read in my book group on Instagram. If you're not a part of that, if you go to my Instagram page, I think if you just click right there, it'll say book group. And we all decided to read Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. This book was freaky. It is definitely like a psychological thriller. It's about a girl who goes missing and her mom's journey to kind of solve the mystery of what happened to her daughter, and I don't want to give too much away when I try to describe what these are about, but it was freaky. There was kind of a plot twist at the end, but I wouldn't say it like blew my socks off. Another one of her books I read in September, None of This Is True. That one was really, really good. This one I gave 4 stars. I really did enjoy it. I flew through this book. I think I read this in like 2 days at night because it was so good. But also the chapters, I feel like they fly by because the chapters are really, really short. I really enjoyed this though. I'm so glad you guys picked this one in that book group, and I'm so excited to kind of talk about it once the month is over because I didn't want to say anything if someone hasn't finished it yet, but really enjoyed this. I gave this one 4 stars, and it makes me excited to pick up more of her books. The next book I read right here was Finale, and it's from Stephanie Garber's Caraval series. I finished the last 2 books in September, and I was on the wait list at the library for this this last book for weeks on end. It is the third book in a trilogy that she wrote called Caraval, and I gave this one 4 stars as well. I really did enjoy it. I didn't think it was a great like ending to the trilogy. It wasn't bad, but it didn't like grab my attention in the way some of her other books have. But overall, I'm really glad I read it. I don't want to give too much away about that one either because it is a trilogy. There's 2 books you need to read before it, Caraval and Legendary. But I really did enjoy this. I gave it 4 stars. It kept my attention. The next book I listened to on audiobook, and I also read it physically, kind of did a tandem for both of them, and that was Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice is one of my all-time favorite movies. I think it might be my favorite movie. It is so good. I watch it every year, sometimes more than that. And I've actually never read the book, and so I wanted to do that this month. I decided to, because it's free on Audible right now. So I listened to it, and then I also read the hard copy at night if I needed to like go back and kind of tandem read them. It was so good. Of course, it's 5 stars. It's the original enemies to lovers. Oh, Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth. It's so good. If you haven't read it yet, highly recommend it, even if you've seen the movie. It was just so good. Another audiobook. This was the Bossy Pants by Tina Fey was September's book for our book club. And then this month for October, our book club book was called The Dead Romantics. I listened to this on audiobook as well, and I really enjoyed it. I found myself wanting to listen to it, which I can't do audiobooks if I'm not doing something with my hands. I can't just sit and listen. So typically when I listen to audiobooks, it's when I'm doing chores around the house or I'm driving or something that is keeping my hands busy. I cannot sit still. And I found myself wanting to find something to do with my hands just so I could listen to this. So when I'm grocery shopping or whatever it may be, I really enjoyed this. It was so fun. There was a twist at the end that I didn't expect. It is a kind of like a rom-com. It is about a girl who grew up at a mortuary, like her family owns a mortuary and she can see ghosts, and it's kind of like a rom-com. She falls in love with somebody. There's a little twist at the end. It was so fun, and I gave this one 4 stars. It was really good. Next was a physical book. This is Masters of Death by Olive Blake. This is the first book that I've read by Olive Blake, and I have this because I signed up for a book subscription with the company called Owl Crate, and look how beautiful this book is. It is just stunning. They do special edition books, so like the edges are all black. It's signed by her as well. I also got to meet Olive Blake when I went to the Alex Harrow event because she was there. She is hilarious. I really enjoyed listening to her talk, so I was excited to read this. I enjoyed this one too. It was kind of like I feel like it's a comedy. It's really funny. It's about a vampire who is she's a real estate agent, and she's trying to sell a house that has a ghost in it. And there's also the godson of death. There's Death himself. There's a demon. There's a bunch of other characters, just wild different characters and their journey to try and figure out a mystery of how someone was killed and all of this stuff. It was really funny. I enjoyed it. I gave this one 3 stars. I just found myself not dying to pick it up, but it was like a lighthearted, fun read, and now I'm kind of excited to read a couple of her other books. I already have the Atlas 6, but I haven't started it yet, but I did enjoy this one, and again, a perfect October read. This one is hefty. This is Cassandra Clare, Swordcatcher. So Cassandra Clare is a pretty big author in the fantasy world. I'm pretty sure she wrote the Mortal Instruments series. I have not read it. This is my very first one. It's one of her first ones in adult fantasy genre, and it is large. This is 600 pages. So this took me a little while to get through, but I really enjoyed this. It's called Swordcatcher. It's about a prince who has someone who is his swordcatcher, which is essentially like a bodyguard or a stunt double to basically take the fall for him in case anything ever happens to him. So if he's attacked, he jumps in his place, or if there's an event he can't be at, he fills in for him. There's a little bit of magic involved, but it's more like they're trying to bring magic back in this world because it's been taken away. And it follows his perspective, the sword catcher for the prince, and the perspective of another girl who still has some of her magic, and she is trying to save her best friend's life by bringing back a little bit of magic. It was really good. Even though this was big, I felt like it kept my attention the entire book. I really enjoyed it. I also just think it is beautiful. Like, look at this. It's so pretty. It makes me, again, want to read more of her books that I haven't gotten into. So I gave this 4 stars. stars. It was really, really good. Okay, next, I was so excited. So I read Two Twisted Crowns this month, which is the sequel to One Dark Window, which I read 2 or 3 months ago. This might be it's probably my second favorite series of the year. I loved this. I gave both of these books 5 stars. I only read this one this month, obviously, but it was so good. I was so glad that the sequel was just as good as the first one, in my opinion, if not better. It was a multi-point of view. If you haven't read One Dark Window, this one is about a town that's basically been cursed by the spirit of the wood, and the whole town is encased in mist. And the only way to break the mist and keep people from wandering into it, because once they wander into it, they basically wander to their deaths. It's terrible. And the only way to break the curse is to unite this deck of cards that has magic. And it is the story of how this girl, Elspeth is the main character, has one of these cards trapped in her head called the Nightmare. And it's her journey to try and free the mist. It is so good. I love this one. I gave this one 5 stars. So when the sequel came out this month, which this one left off on a cliffhanger, I was so excited. I loved it just as much. I gave this one 5 stars. I think that, like I said, this might be one of my favorite series that I've read. Throne of Glass is probably gotta be #1, but it was so good. I'm so glad that the sequel was good. I just really enjoyed this. One of the last ones I read this month was The Unmaking of June Farrow. This is by Adrienne Young. She wrote another book that I read a couple months ago called Spells for Forgetting that I loved. So I was really excited. This is a fiction. It is a like time travel with romance, with a curse, not really magic. I think that's why it doesn't fall in the fantasy category. It's just fiction, but it's basically a curse is on this family, and the main character, June, she has to try and break this curse where her women in her family travel in time. And I don't want to give too much away, but it was so good. Her writing was just really nice. There was romance in it, but it definitely wasn't like the main plot point. The main plot, I would say, focused around like family and family ties and generational. It was just so good. I don't know how else to describe it. I love this one. I gave it 5 stars. I'm thinking about doing this one for the book club that I'm in when I host, which is next year, because I loved it so much. Also, it's beautiful. I think this cover might be my favorite cover ever. I really, really liked this. She's going to be one of those authors that anything she writes, I probably read it. She has more books in the fantasy world that are more, I think they're called like Fable and Saint. I haven't read those yet, but I'm definitely going to. They're more young adult. That from what I've heard, this is an adult, but I really liked this. Highly recommend it. 5 stars. And then the last book of the month. I am so sad, and I don't want anyone to get mad because I was looking forward to this book so much. This is another Stephanie Garber. She's the one that wrote the one from the library that I read, Finale. She's the author of this book as well. This was another trilogy, and this was the final book in the trilogy. And this trilogy I liked even more. The first one was Once Upon a Broken Heart. The second was The Ballad of Never After, and this was the final book, A Curse for True Love. I liked the Once Upon a Broken Heart. I think I gave it like 3.5 stars. The Ballad of Never After, I loved that book so much. It's 5 stars, and it left on this huge cliffhanger yet again. So I've been waiting to read this book, and it just came out. I read it in one night. Probably took me like 3 or 4 hours to read this entire book. It's not that long, but I didn't like it. I gave this book 2 stars, which I'm pretty generous when I give ratings to books. I feel like there were so many plot holes in this book that didn't add up. I felt disappointed. I felt like I didn't get answers. I felt like, I don't know how to describe it. I just felt so sad at the end of it. I didn't feel like it wrapped up the trilogy at all. And I'm left with so many questions. And it also just felt really rushed. And like the main purpose of the original book is there's a girl who falls in love with a fate, which is essentially like somebody who is immortal and they have powers, and it's her journey to trying to find true love, and he can't have that, and it's like it's like a romance fantasy. It's so good, but I don't know, I don't want to ruin it if you haven't read it. If you haven't read it, I still think you should read it just to get some closure, but I have to say, I'm sorry, Stephanie, I didn't like it. I'm so sad. Okay, and then since it is the end of the month, I am not done. I still have 2 books that I'm currently reading. I just don't know if I'll finish them before the end of October or if I'll finish them in November, and they might carry over into my November reads. But I'm reading 2 more books currently, one on my Kindle, and it is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. I've never read any of his books before. I'm about 150 pages in. I just started it last night, and so far I'm liking it. It's young adult, it's very quirky and funny. It's about a girl, I don't know it because I haven't finished it yet, but it's about a girl who lives on this island, and basically the person she loves, who was the Duke's son, gets kidnapped and taken away, and she's on her journey across the sea, which is not water but spores that are deadly, to find him and save him. And there's like a talking rat, and it's really cute, and I've been enjoying it. And again, I think it's gonna get me to read more of his books, so I started that one. And then I'm also reading another one. It's called Good Inside by Dr. Becky Kennedy. It's a parenting book. It had really good reviews, and I'm about 3 or 4 chapters in on that. I'm listening to that on audiobook, and we'll see where that one goes. So far I'm really liking it, but like I said, I haven't finished it yet. Anyways, these were all of my amazing reads for October. I really enjoyed reading this month. I actually don't know how many books that was total. I'll put it here. I get a lot of questions asking when I find the time to read because of kids. Most nights, I would say about 5 nights a week, I spend about 3 to 4 hours reading once the kids go to bed. My kids are all usually asleep by 7:30, and I spend between 3 and 4 hours reading at night. Not every night, but most nights. It's just how I wind down at the end of the day now, and I really enjoy it. And I can also read pretty quickly when it's a physical book, because I can plow through pretty quickly. Like last night, I think I read for 2 hours and I read about 150 pages. I don't know what that math is, but I usually read at night once the kids go to bed. And then during the day, audiobooks, definitely. That's when I manage to read those audiobooks like Pride and Prejudice or the parenting books, or what was the other one? I do audiobooks when I'm grocery shopping, when I'm doing the dishes, when I'm just driving around in the car to school pickup and school drop off, while the kids talk to each other. It's like the best time to listen to audiobooks. And I also listen to audiobooks at like 1.5 speed because my brain works better that way. So that's where I find the time to read, honestly. And now I'm gonna highlight a couple books that I really want to read in November. First off, of course, is gonna be Iron Flame. That comes out November 7th. I am so excited to read that. Fourth Wing was the book that got me into reading again. It's a fantasy, it's a dragon college book. If you haven't read it, it's really good. It's very hyped up, but it's really good. And the second one comes out November 7th, so I definitely want to read that one. I also have Kindle Unlimited for another month or 2 for free, so I'm going to be starting Daughter of No Worlds by, I think it's by Carissa Broadbent. I've heard really good about this. I honestly have no idea what it's about, but I think it's a trilogy, and it's all on Kindle Unlimited, so it'll be free for me because I got a couple months free when I signed up for something. So I'm gonna read that before it expires because I really want to take advantage of that. And then 2 others I have on my list are The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, mostly because everyone and their mom has told me how great of a book it is. It's a historical fiction. Again, don't really know the storyline, but it's on my TBR. And I want to read a book by Emily Henry. She writes a lot of like rom-com type books, and I haven't read any of them, and I've heard really good things. So I really want to read those as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys again soon. I wanted to change up some of my content, and I'm so excited to just do fun things that I enjoy. So I'll talk to you again soon.